I've worked the closing shift at a small, unassuming bar on the outskirts of town for a while now. It's a place where the regulars know each other by name, and the jukebox has been playing the same classic rock tunes for years. The clientele is a mix of locals, truckers passing through, and the occasional lost tourist looking for a stiff drink. I've grown accustomed to the routine and have learned to navigate the various types of customers that come in. The talkers, the flirters, the quiet drinkers, and those who just want to be left alone. One evening, a man walked in who caught my attention. He appeared to be in his late 40s, but his clean-cut appearance and impeccable grooming made him seem out of place in our humble bar. He wore a black turtleneck under a black trench coat, exuding an air of sophistication that hinted at wealth, but not the flashy kind. As he scanned the room, his eyes locked onto the bar, and he strode over with purpose. I noticed his exceptional posture, which only added to his enigmatic presence. When I approached him, he ordered a top-shelf drink without hesitation. As I poured his drink, he asked me if I enjoyed working at the bar, his smile putting me at ease. I replied honestly, sharing a light-hearted joke about my job. He chatted with me for a bit, and I found his conversation pleasant but not overly engaging. At one point, he asked if I ever thought about pursuing something bigger, which struck me as an odd question. I brushed it off, attributing it to small talk. The conversation continued, and he asked what time I finished my shift. I was taken aback, as I hadn't picked up on any flirtatious cues from him earlier. I gave him a vague answer, trying to politely deflect his interest. Before he could respond, I busied myself with wiping down the counter, and he didn't press the issue. He simply smiled, finished his drink, and left a $100 bill on the bar, his actions seeming almost casual. I didn't think much of the encounter, chalking it up to a peculiar but harmless interaction. However, about a week later, he returned, this time accompanied by a woman. She was dressed in a trendy outfit that seemed slightly mismatched with her age, and her demeanor struck me as calculated. As they approached the bar, she complimented me on my appearance, her touch lingering on my arm a fraction of a second too long. I felt a shiver run down my spine, sensing that something was off about her. The woman asked me a series of questions, probing for information about my life and job. I answered politely, but my instincts told me that this was more than just small talk. She mentioned that she ran an exclusive event club, hinting at lucrative opportunities for someone like me. Her words were laced with an undercurrent of persuasion, making me increasingly uneasy. When she suggested I step outside to discuss the details, my alarm bells rang loud and clear. I firmly declined, my tone leaving no room for misinterpretation. Just then, a group of boisterous customers walked in, and the woman's expression shifted. Her friendly facade slipped, revealing a glimpse of something more sinister beneath. Without another word, she and the man left, leaving me feeling unsettled. I shared my concerns with my coworkers and boss, and we agreed to be vigilant in case they returned. Days passed, and I tried to push the encounter to the back of my mind. However, one evening, as I was closing up, I noticed a car parked across the street, its engine off. A sense of being watched crept over me, and I quickened my pace as I walked to my car. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I checked my mirrors, and the car followed. I took a series of random turns, but it continued to tail me. My heart racing, I pulled into a police station parking lot and the car sped away. The incident left me shaken, but I tried to focus on my work. However, the woman returned, this time alone, on a slow weekday shift. She sat at the bar, her smile fixed on her face, and asked for a drink. I texted my boss, trying to be discreet, and told her we were about to close. She requested just one more drink, and I hesitated, unsure of what to do. As I poured her drink, I heard the soft click of the front door shutting, and when I turned around, she was gone. My instincts screamed at me to be cautious, and I locked the door, my eyes scanning the parking lot. That's when I saw it. A black van idling outside. I grabbed a metal shaker, my heart pounding, and dialed 911. The sound of metal rattling at the back door made my blood run cold. Just as I was bracing myself for the worst, my boss arrived, and the van sped away. The police came, and we reviewed the security footage, which revealed two masked figures lurking near the front door and another person trying to flush me out. The license plate number my boss had managed to catch turned out to be unregistered, and the investigation yielded no progress. The only positive outcome was that my boss no longer scheduled me to work alone. Despite the added safety measure, I still feel a sense of unease during night shifts, wondering how they knew I'd be working alone that fateful evening. The what-ifs continue to haunt me, and I often think about what might have happened if I had given in to fear and run out the front door. I used to work the graveyard shift at a small gas station, nestled off a quiet highway. It was a solitary existence, with most of my time spent restocking shelves, cleaning counters, and occasionally serving the odd trucker or traveler who stumbled in. But after a harrowing experience a few months ago, I vowed never to work another night shift again. The incident is still etched in my memory. It was a chilly winter morning, just past 2:30 a.m. The station was deserted, and I was left to my own devices. I spent my time scrolling through my phone, trying to pass the hours. At one point, I stepped outside for some fresh air, rubbing my hands together to warm them up. The parking lot was empty, except for the faint glow of the neon sign and the dark silhouette of trees beyond. As I stood there, I noticed a figure emerge from the shadows. He was wearing a dark red hoodie with the hood pulled up, and his hands were shoved deep into his pockets. What struck me as odd was that he didn't seem to be accompanied by a vehicle, and he wasn't heading towards the store either. He was just standing there, watching me with an unnerving intensity. At first, I thought maybe he was waiting for someone, but his behavior seemed off. He was shuffling around in a circular pattern, his eyes fixed on me. I retreated back into the store, keeping a watchful eye on him through the glass. I pretended to busy myself with work, hoping someone would arrive to pick him up or distract him. But as the minutes ticked by, he began to move towards the door, his pace slow and deliberate at first, then suddenly quickening. He burst into the store, his eyes locking onto mine with an unnerving intensity. He muttered something about his car breaking down, but his story seemed rehearsed and unconvincing. I offered to call a tow truck, but he declined, asking instead for a flashlight and some help checking under the hood. Something about his demeanor didn't add up, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was testing me. Despite my reservations, I asked him where his car was parked, and he pointed to a monitor behind me. I turned to look, and to my surprise, there was indeed a car parked near the highway entrance. But as I glanced back at the monitor, I noticed a faint movement near the car's back bumper. Someone was crouching just out of view. A chill ran down my spine as I realized I'd been outside just moments before, and I would have remembered a car parked there. I forced a smile and agreed to help him, but not before telling him I needed to grab my phone from the back office. As soon as I was out of his sight, I slammed my hand onto the emergency panic button under the counter. The alarm blared to life, and I expected him to react with anger or panic. But instead, he relaxed, his body language shifting from tense to calm. He smiled, a slow, knowing grin that sent shivers down my spine. I was frozen in shock, unsure of what to do next. But before I could react, he turned and bolted out of the store. I rushed to the monitors, watching as he and his accomplice disappeared into the woods behind the station. The car remained, engine off, headlights off, with no one inside. By the time the police arrived, the men were gone, leaving behind only the abandoned vehicle. The police took my statement and reviewed the surveillance footage. A few days later, they followed up with me, revealing that the car had been reported stolen over 100 miles away, nearly a week earlier. There were no reports of missing persons, no other crimes linked to the vehicle, just an abandoned car with no explanation. The incident left me shaken, and I realized that I would never feel safe working another night shift again.